Yes, guys, welcome back to flatcapeurotalk here. And I know, the Bastoni news has just come out 5 minutes before we were about to go live. But we are going to be discussing, kind of interestingly, a lot of players that are up in the market and maybe just giving our honest opinions about kind of our opinions of them, whether, we find them overrated, underrated, if not even world class. Maybe as people pile in, if they, want to get the Bastoni discussions going, might as well. But I think Spurs still have plenty of other options out there. Before I get to our special guest here, who is making a great debut today, Darius, just maybe as people are in here and, kind of just probably going to throw in their comments, thoughts on, kind of maybe missing out on Bastoni. Are you a bit heartbroken?
I am only because I think it was probably the most ideal and most like sort of transfer that makes the most sense. I think we all sort of saw him as Kante's little project at Inter. He brought him from I can't even remember what could be brought him from, but he was young. He brought him in as a teen, turned him into the most ideal left-footed left centre back he could basically mold a player into, and then he obviously left Inter, and I thought obviously when Conte joined, there's not really many better left centre backs in the world, and just not in the world, but to fit
Mm,
Conte's system than Bastoni. So I was just like, yeah, if we're gonna get anybody, pay the big money, get him. And it's almost like and I know Jimmy will be here to say that it's almost like a Van Dijk-esque centre back signing because he will sort of galvanise and change that entire team, and it
mm,
probably wouldn't take him a long time to fit into that system as well. I think Romero probably will in the long term be seen as more of that for us, but Bastoni again
yeah.
could have had a similar impact in different ways for us. So it's harsh, but
Yeah.
we've mentioned like there's other centre backs in my opinion that
There's
maybe
still
not
more
be
out there.
maybe not might fit as well, but I think talent wise, again, Josko Vardiol, Pau Torres, these are two centre backs that we've been linked with for a long time, and again with players that we have in our squad that want to go the other way, you can see deals happening, especially with Torres. So I
Yeah,
would personally go for
definitely.
Vardiol next. That would be like my second in the list. I'd go
Yeah.
from Bastoni to Vardiol, but I think Torres would probably make more sense since I know Lo Celso probably wants to go that direction as well. So we'll have to wait and find out. To be fair,
Have
he
to
didn't
wait and
really want
find
to
out.
join us either. He didn't want to join us back in the day when we didn't have Champions
No.
League. So let's see how much of a difference that did make.
And that's why the Pau Torres thing is, kind of worrisome for me. Is like, is he really my second choice? I don't really think so. I'm kind of in your boat. Gavardiol is probably my second choice. And I've even gone kind of crazy at one stage, Darius, when asked who my third choice would be. And I went as far as to say Benoit Badiashile from
Mm,
Monaco would actually be somebody that I'd go after, somebody that has impressed me. And I've heard just some concerning reviews about Pau Torres. Some people think he
yeah.
really isn't actually Premier League material, despite having all the physical attributes of being more Premier League material, which is a bit confusing. But
Mm.
maybe while people, again, maybe bring it up at some stage, we are going to, let our guest here, our man that is making a debut, somebody that I grew up with over in high school as well as middle school, Jimmy, making a debut on Flat Cap Euro Talk. My man, how we doing? We are going to be rating some players today, and there are going to be about 7 or 8, I
Big
think,
up,
Liverpool
lads.
players in there. So I mean, all the Liverpool players in there. I mean, I hate to say it, you can't give them all world class.
There'll be a few that I'm not giving world class. I'm just warning you now, Jimmy. So
We'll see. I'll make my arguments.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Let's invite a bit of the Flat Cap Army in before we get started. Everybody, huge tier maker today, huge tier maker. So we might as well get started early. But Sushant Busal saying, "Big up, Jack. Love from Nepal." And boy from Paxton Road TV, Bastoni is staying mean. We go for who Jack and left-footed center back quality like Bastoni. Is there in the market? Any thoughts? Please reply. I think we said Benoit Badiashile and maybe I don't know. Gavardiol is probably everybody's second choice, but I just
mm,
maybe just quickly, Darius, do you see Gavardiol actually happening? Is that somebody you realistically could see us getting, or do you
um,
see it being Pau Torres?
I think it. I think Guardiola could happen. It's just whether they're willing to, first of all, find a package that would reach sort of the money that Leipzig want. I think they want something like 70, 80 million
Mm,
euros. I think you can actually, we're willing to sort of pay what 60 odd million pounds or let's say 60, 70 million euros for Bastoni. So it's not like the money's not there. I just think, are they going to take that risk or, with an easier deal to be done with Pau Torres, get that out of
yeah,
the way and then maybe
yeah,
just, instead of just because I think if Bastoni joined, he would have been thrown straight in, and Ben Davies would have unfortunately probably been put on the bench. But if Pau Torres was to join, maybe Ben Davies keeps his spot, and then you sort of bleed Pau Torres into the team slowly over the season. But
who knows? Plays in the middle of the back three, plays like Dyer's
It's-
spot or something like that. That could be an
You could see
interesting
that.
shout. Ben Davies keeps his spot. And I have said Sushant Busal, Ben Davies, I thought, had a better season than Eric Dyer in the whole. And I can't believe I'm
100%.
saying that. And maybe more deserving of the spot at the end of the day. But we'll find out, I guess, come the preseason. Mick Hermalock in the house. Good to see you, my man. Catman Jess said, big up Jack in the Flat Cap Army. Dan Ann as well. Good to see you. Catman Jess also welcoming in Jimmy and Darius. Good to see that, Catman. Good example for all the chat as well. Kais saying, leave Bastoni alone. He's ours. Good evening, Jack. I guess the inter-raid is not happening. At one stage, I think when we were doing all of, the likely transfers for Spurs, Darius, I think, was on that stream. I think we all realized that, it's impossible for us to take 3 or 4 Vinters players all in one transfer window. So I guess, the inter-raid might not be happening, Kais. So you're probably getting away with it. Christoph Martin says, can't see Gvardiol happening. He would cost 80 million. And he recently said that he is happy in Germany. Either way, I am happy with Torres as he is okay with playing out the back. Probably actually the better of the, maybe you could even make an argument. This sounds crazy. You could almost make an argument. He's actually just as good as the rest of the Gvardiol and Bastoni and playing out the back and like being calm under possession. It's just more the defensive characteristics are probably a bit, kind of a bit wanting in comparison to the others. But his possession,
I just can't imagine him doing well against Antonio. Could you ever imagine Pau Torres doing well against someone like Antonio, Ivan Toney, somebody like that?
But do you think like in possession just as good maybe as the other?
Definitely.
An important distinction to me, I haven't really been following this transfer, but an important distinction to me is that this man has been playing next to Raul Albiol, veteran, underrated veteran, and that I always, and when I analyze center backs, I always look at who's playing next to them first, and before I kind of like look at them individually, because I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I don't know the qualities of Pau Torres enough to say that he wouldn't be successful, but I would doubt he would be as successful at Spurs without playing next to somebody like Albiol. Just because I don't think Spurs necessarily has a real leader like that in center back.
Not at all.
I don't know. Maybe you guys know better than
maybe
I do.
Eric Dyer.
That would be
I don't know.
That would be my hot take just on the situation.
And it's a great point as well, because if you look at
Soyuncu,
everybody thought Soyuncu was a very good centre back. Soon as Evans is sort of in and out of the team, now he doesn't look as good. So I think that's a great point to make about centre backs. It's important to look at who they are playing with, because again, Albiol probably is sweeping up a lot of stuff that Pau Torres maybe with, I don't know, even Romero.
Underrated for 10 years. Honestly, if Albiol was 25, you should go and get him.
Maybe a missing player in the list later, perhaps. Might have
underrated,
to add him in.
Underrated.
Catman Jess, big up Christoph. Catman Jess saying, I'm pretty sure Gvardiol confirmed he's staying at Leipzig. Looks like might have to get used to the Pau Torres news then, everybody. Dan N saying Bastoni news is depressing, but there's a lot of classy center backs out there. Maybe we switch gears and get a Dyer upgrade than just a squad player to back up Davies. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And again, though, Dan, if you were to get someone like a Pau Torres to maybe compete with like the likes of a Pau, or he competes with an Eric Dyer and a Ben Davies, he could compete for both positions, you could think, because I could see him playing Eric Dyer's role, which is a bit more kind of withdrawn, doesn't have to, maybe come out and, be as, aggressive as the likes of Ben Davies or Romero have to be. You could see him actually doing quite well in that sort of spot. And I would say maybe doesn't take as many touches on the ball as someone like a Moon Boots does in the middle of the back three. So, Dan, I'd say Pau Torres. I'm going to try to get my head around it, starting to rationalize it. I'm not sure what that even means, but good to see in the chat. And then Christoph saying, I don't think Torres would be a flop in the Prem, considering the way we play in a back three. If we get him for 35 million plus Lo Celso, you can definitely make the argument. I would say that a lot of players that maybe would struggle in making that transition to the Premier League as center backs might be aided and maybe kind of, helped in going into a back three. Might be a lot easier to make that transition because they have other players that, can help them out. And maybe with the wing backs and the way that Kante plays, you could see it maybe being an easier transition than maybe other teams, for a center back. And then Derek Smith, last one here, saying, I've never heard of Bastoni 2 months ago, as I suspect a lot of Spurs fans hadn't. Derek, I feel like you definitely have. You've been in this channel a long time, my man. I think we did the Bastoni vid almost 6-7 months ago, my man, when we almost first started up the channel. So, Derek, I feel like a lot of us have, to a degree, maybe not more than a year and a half, but he hasn't been on the scene that long. And in that span of time, he's almost become one of the best left-sided center backs in the world in that back three sort of specialist position. But everybody, we are doing a tier maker today. Big transfer stream on the Irish Hotspur tomorrow. We will be talking about Bastoni. Don't you worry. But today we're going to be kind of just giving our honest kind of, opinions on players, and maybe bringing up some hot takes perhaps on various players and discussing whether they are world class. Maybe you find them underrated. Maybe you find them completely overrated. And then honestly, the chat, if you have any suggestions, this fourth category I'm really struggling with, because what do you call someone that you don't find world class, you don't find underrated, and you don't find overrated? Let me know what that fourth category is. But we do have a special guest.
Fifth category, just mid. For sure.
Then maybe I think you just just speak with your chest and just put him in the overrated category. And, might as well just go a bit further. But everybody, we are going to get this started.
He's effective, but he's garbage.
Good to see James in the hat, and he say loving the hair, Darius. I would say actually, I don't think you've gone with this style before on the channel.
No, it's out. It's out today only because I have no hairdresser at the moment, so it's all out today in full force. Had a shower and the shampoo destroyed my eyes. So yeah, at the moment I'm trying to not let the light blind me, because it's pain all the way around. But yeah, debut for the mushroom hair. I'm assuming.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think as Cody has said before, when you have that much hair, maybe, you probably have a big football brain, to probably come with it as well. And pick up everybody. Really appreciate you coming up. Lots of hair on the chat. And maybe I actually have the least amounts. Maybe I should be speaking the least. But I did kind of want to start maybe kind of a bit randomly with goalkeepers. As you can see, everybody, we have it kind of organized: Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A. We can go all over the place here. Don't you worry. And plenty of these we might not even get to. Maybe some we don't really spend very much time on at all. But might as well just get the guest going. Maybe get the nerves out. Alisson, where is he, my man? Is he a world class keeper? Is he a world class?
If Ali's not world class, you've never watched football. Period. That's all I gotta say. Ali saved Liverpool time and time again for the past 3 seasons, and it's not even a discussion for anybody who watches the Reds week in, week out, whether Ali is world class. He's exceptional. He's beyond world class. He saves.
Is he the best in the world in your eyes?
At the moment, I would say he's best in the world. I think he's at the heights that Neuer was at about 3 or 4 years back.
Whoa.
I think Ederson is up there, but I think that Ali's a more mature player in general.
Do you think Darius, better than the other goalkeepers that you see on that list, Alisson? Does he make that world-class list? Because I don't think the rest of them can make the world-class list if one of them is in there. I think one of them makes it and the others don't.
I disagree. I think the goalkeepers are closer than most of the players on the list in terms of quality.
Maybe I'll go second then. I'll make a really hot take here. We'll just go rapid fire. Ederson. I think Ederson is exceptional with his feet, and in fact might be the best with his feet. But I don't think he's that actually great at saving anything. I'm going to throw him in the overrated category.
But what he does for City and what he's needed for City, that's why I sort of, because
I never see him pull off world-class saves very often, which I know with City, you don't really get the opportunities to do that very often.
Because they just keep the ball for 95%.
Yeah. But which is why I kind of want to throw him in the overrated category, because how often do we even see him make saves?
That is true. And that's why I sort of, part of me, my argument was I kind of can't put any of them not in world class, the 4 keepers, and it's sort of a debate between who is the better out of all of them. That was my sort of thinking. And Ederson for me is is the third or fourth best out of those four, but he's still world class because I've never seen a keeper do what he can do. And I think that he will be the beginning of what we see the future of a lot of keepers be like, sort of,
Do you think like
in the next
Neuer though
5
came before him? I feel like
I
Neuer
do,
came
but
before him.
I think Neuer
Those
did come
balls
before him,
that
but
Ederson plays, those like 50-yard balls, though. Pepe
it's-
Reina
it's-
was doing that like 10 years ago. I don't see
but
that as like revolutionary.
it's a culmination, I think, of everything. I think with Edison, every other keeper, Neuer again, sort of being out on his line, being that ball playing keeper was there before. You even mentioned Pepperino again with the long balls. It's there before, but is there been a keeper who's culminated it all? I know he's in a team that's winning, but I just think that when I see Edison make those passes, and even just ones along the floor through the middle of teams that just literally get to one of City centre mids, and it creates an entire attack just from that. I just think there's no other keeper doing that. And I know he probably did play outfield a lot when he was younger, but just from talent alone, I've never seen a keeper do what he can do in terms of with his feet. And he may be a goalkeeper, but that is a lot. A lot of managers make the importance of the keeper so known to people that without Edison making that ball forward, without that first initial pass through the middle, there's no attack being built from that City.
He also makes it impossible to press City to a degree. But to be fair, he's been making a few more mistakes recently.
He has. I also
thought.
think he's not been improving necessarily as well. But
Yeah.
I think it is a debate. In my opinion, it's a debate between sort of who is the best out of all of those four world-class keepers.
He could go in that none of the above. I don't think he's world-class, though. I don't think he's world-class.
But I can't. You know what? At the same time, the points he makes, he doesn't really make many saves. So that is what a goalkeeper at the end of the day is meant to do. So,
but even I know he doesn't get I feel like it's unfair because he doesn't get the opportunity to make many saves. But
yeah,
even when he does get the opportunity to make
team.
saves, I mean, Darius, you know us as Spurs fans, we wish we could play Man City every week. And he never I've never seen him pull off world-class saves against Sonny, Harry Kane. Like every time Sonny's one-on-one against Ederson, I have full confidence Sonny's bearing it. Whereas maybe like an Alisson might not have as much full confidence, to be fair. Like
who gets picked at Brazil? Is it Alisson who's picked normally over Edison for Brazil?
Well,
I guess that's very
not necessarily
not
but the Brazilian FA selection is questionable almost always.
I think they experiment a lot. They seem to experiment a lot. But
who do you think will start for them? I think it'll be Alisson starting for them.
I think Ali will start now, but
like
2 years ago, Ederson was starting, and I was like, "This is dumb." If the real problem is if they don't take Bobby, then they're fucking up.
Kai's kind of agrees that saving has a huge part to play in it. I sort of agree. Like I'm very much a big advocate for the modern goalkeeper like Ederson, but it doesn't mean he gets into the world-class category for me. It's not the end-all be-all for me, but just want to welcome in someone else. Bobby K in the house. Good to see you as well. And then I do believe we have Mac. Good to see you, Mac. And he says, no Courtois. Maybe should have gone in here, actually, to be fair. But I don't even know. Maybe hot take. I think Courtois, not exactly overrated. I think I would throw him in the none of the above. I think I'd throw him in none of the above. I don't think
you got to give him that world class after the Champions League.
World class day.
After
all these keepers are full of world class moments. All these keepers are full of
Mendy has actually impressed me recently, I have to say.
Really? I think Mendy's gotten worse over the
I was
season.
just going to say Mendy straight into the overrated because he's made a few mistakes of the last few weeks, at least towards the end of the season as well. In fact, Darius, didn't he even cost them in a certain game? Like he made a huge mistake that cost them.
Oh, I can't remember
some
which
game.
one.
It was some
I feel like it was a cup game. I feel like it was a cup game.
Cup game, I thought. Was it even the Champions League? Did he cost them in the Champions League as well?
Maybe. I mean, you make the point. I mean, Jimmy, to be fair, if you had asked me this last year, Mendy probably would have been second if we're ranking them in terms of the keepers.
I haven't followed it that closely, to be honest. I haven't seen what mistakes he's made in the past 3 weeks or a few months or whatnot. But the performances I've seen him in this season, I think one that sticks out to me is the FA Cup final, and then also we played Chelsea back to back in 2 finals, and if that man was not in between the sticks, it would have been 6-0 each time. He was exceptional, in my opinion.
And he is almost a big game player. I think I probably critique Mendy for the wrong reasons. Again, he's not very good with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, no, his feet are not it. But in terms of shot stopping and just putting his team on his back, I thought he's been excellent.
I just don't think he's had a world-class season at all.
I don't think he's world-class.
Then and there was this big hype after last season, and we all know Chelsea fans, Darius, and they really did. Like, I think some people are putting him in the World 11. I think at one stage, like after last season, he was getting a bit out of hand, and I think then
I probably was almost
to me that
following
puts a
that.
target on his back. Puts a target on his back for this season. Can he live up to that reputation? I don't think he lived up to that reputation at all.
He has to do what he's been doing for me consistently for like 5 years, and then
So I'm gonna throw the overrated
get
just
better with
because
his
Chelsea
feet.
fans throw him in the world class. They were calling him world class at one stage. So I
He's
think
quite
that's the
good,
world.
but he's not world class.
Yeah. Donnarumma, someone who's also had a few mistakes this season and couldn't even really get ahead of Keylor Navas at one stage. Overrated, perhaps. Right now, maybe
I have a
soon
bias
will
for
be world
Donnarumma,
class.
but I haven't watched him enough this season.
He's made
I
that
think he's
huge
barely
mistake that
played.
gave Real Madrid, made those huge mistake gave Real Madrid, almost made two of them, I think, in a row that kind of gave Real Madrid sort of the win. And also Keylor Navas has played ahead of him on multiple occasions this season. I think he's only played 20 games or something this season.
That's what's so frustrating, though. I wish if he had been in Milan, if he had stayed in Milan and won the Scudetto,
he would be in world class, I think.
And played and played how he has played for the past 4 seasons, he'd be world class.
He'd be world class.
I think if we're going based off season, he has to be overrated because he's not even started. He's not even started.
Pure
so I have to agree
ability.
with you guys.
Yeah.
Pure technical
and is that the
ability,
criteria?
I think he has the ability to be world class.
Yeah, I think Darius. We're doing like current moment. Like you can use maybe past seasons to back it up, but to be fair, like you are judging them right now. In this, like if you would take him in your team, let's say, right now, like I did that debate with Darius or with David before with the the World 11 sort of thing. Like would he go into that World 11? Which is why I kind of want to be really harsh personally with the world class thing. Normally, I'm not. I'm very kind with the world class, kind of a title, but I kind of want to be harsh today because you're essentially almost building like World 11. Like I don't really think there should be more than like 14, 15 guys here if you're going to ask me. So yeah, Donnarumma overrated. Neuer, as much as I want to throw him still in world class, I'm going to say none of the above. I don't think he's underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's just in the none of the above. I would say though, a lot of people seem to forget he is the pioneer for the Allisons and the Edersons of the world, if you ask me.
No, Neuer is a legend. Is he the best keeper in the world at this moment? Probably not.
Class save the other night actually against England as well. Actually, the way they just at whatever he is, like 37, just glides across goal. He's also like been kind of an athletic specimen like his whole life, I must say as well. Despite how old he is. But let's get into maybe Premier League players, and maybe we start with Jimmy on a lot of these because I know he's not a big Man City fan. But I think
you got to start more than 20 matches. You got to play 90 minutes for more than 20 matches to be rated by me. It doesn't happen for them. Their front three.
Bernardo Silva, I thought was a fun one to include. Is Bernardo Silva underrated? Because I actually think 100% he's underrated. I don't think he's anywhere near close. I don't think.
Do people not rate Bernardo Silva?
They don't talk about him enough.
They don't talk about him enough. I think he's underrated. I don't think they talk about him enough.
I quite like Bernardo Silva.
One of the best dribblers I've ever seen.
About him, it's because I'm not in the know.
I just think it's one of them where like there's other players that get more love in that City team that I don't get why they do. For example, like Phil Foden and Sterling, as much as they are, it's probably because they're English, and that's the only really excuse I can give because they haven't had more of an impact in this season than Bernardo Silva has, yet they always get the plaudits. It's always them that is getting spoken about. So
Phil Foden is excellent, to be fair.
He's unreal. He's absolutely unreal. He's probably the best English talent that we've got. But I'm saying in terms of impact on this season, Bernardo Silva at the start of the season he was ridiculous at the start of the season.
Bernardo Silva was a better player than both of them, just like factually and technically.
So
I think he's probably the hardest player in the world to get the ball off of.
Phil Foden's career trajectory is still up in the air, whereas Bernardo's kind of set as well as Sterling's.
Do you remember his days over at Monaco, Jimmy? Like where I actually think he's one of the hardest players in the world to get the ball off of. Like the way that he just keeps it so close to him, no matter what. Like there are even stages in
he
the
reminds
Liverpool
me of
Man City
Nasri
games.
and Mata.
But there are games even this season and with Liverpool where I think there was that one moment where he got out of like 4 players, like Liverpool players surrounding him, and he's just one of those.
I would say I don't want to say world class because he doesn't play enough. but I think he is world class. I think underrated is the right spot for him.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Leave him there then. Rodri, this was a hilarious one because Darius, this was the one that I was trying to explain the fourth category for. And I think Rodri is exactly this. I don't find him to be underrated. I don't think he's overrated. Certainly don't think he's world class. Find him just to be sort of none of the above. I mean, Darius,
I almost think he's a little bit underrated, to be fair. I think Rodri's underappreciated. I think I think he's
come out this season. He's had a better season this season.
He's come out and been more appreciated this season. But I just think to take over that role of Fernandinho and do it so seamlessly is quite a big task, and he has done it, and he's done it really well, to be fair. And you talk about sort of defending, going forward, and being an all-round sort of metronome for your team. He does everything, and I mean, for a defensive midfielder to have the ability to pull out a rocket, you know, every maybe 5-10 games
against Villa on the final day, didn't he?
He scored the first timer as well that went top corner as well this game. This season, he scored so many good goals, and I mean, he's just consistently there for City throughout the season. And I think he's not really again spoken about as much as other players are, but at the same time, I think a lot of City fans do appreciate him. So I would say he is probably none of the above. But personally, I think he's a little bit underrated. I'll be honest.
Interesting. Not getting a lot of engagement here. Maybe the chat can let me know. I'm sort of kind of want to leave him there. Unless, Jimmy, do you think he is underrated? I feel like he's in that none of the above.
I kind of agree with Darius' sentiment, although I don't watch Rodri enough to really make a fair judgment about him. I have an inclination to think that he's overrated, but I also just don't watch him enough, and he's a City player. So
I think we're gonna leave him in there for now and see if anybody in the chat wants to overrule me, because I have no personal agenda against Rodri.
Darius' sentiment sounds right to me.
Yeah, Max seems to agree with me there. Yeah, Rafael Leao maybe should have been there. I almost put him in this list, but he's not. More Man City players bust through them. Ruben Diaz, none of the above as well. Like, is he?
Yeah,
really
I would agree with that. I would put him in that. That's going to be my answer. I was gonna say overrated, but then I think about the first season that he had when he came in, and that was pretty ridiculous, to be fair. So I'll just say he probably just cooled off from having a supernova season. I'm just gonna say he's none of them. Ruben Diaz.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Ruben Diaz. Yeah, Ruben Diaz. You know, that new player that they brought in. I mean, I think
that new
in
player,
my eyes, Jimmy, he's helped them out significantly, and
I just couldn't see his photo. Yeah, no, he's filthy. He's the stalwart of the City defense. They have 55 other center backs too who could also play, but that's not relevant to the squad.
Is he captain already as well for that team, or is it still De Bruyne?
Maybe
he's captain. I think it might. I don't know.
Captain before. He has captained the team.
He's definitely captain before. So that's massive.
Spurs.
Maybe he gets in the. I don't know, but world class. Like, he's definitely not. This is the whole point. He's definitely not underrated. He's definitely not overrated. I feel like in any way. Like, and he's certainly not world class. I just don't think he makes my World 11 team, like, in any way. If I were to be honest, like, he's not the first one that comes to mind.
Who's your second center back in your World 11 team?
We'll get to that because we have plenty more to get to. I guess.
Go ahead.
Phil Foden, Darius.
I have to put him in world class. Not solely based on performances, but trajectory, like Jimmy said as well. I mean, he probably is the most talented.
Is he going to be?
I don't know if
he's. I
don't think he's world class yet, but I think
you don't think he's world class yet.
He's 21, 22.
I think the only reason he's not getting more game time is because there's so many good City players in that team, though. That's why if he was to play more games, he definitely would have the same impact that I think a Salah, a Mane, or Firmino has. It's just because there's so many of them in that attack that are being rotated. He just will not. It's not that he doesn't trust him. Rotation is Pep's thing. That's his thing. I think if Foden was at Liverpool playing as a right winger, he'd probably be the best player in the world. So
I don't think Foden starts for Liverpool at right wing. Maybe in this upcoming season, maybe if we lose Sadio and something, but I don't. He's not mature enough for me to be a starter in either Liverpool or the City team at this point. Does he have the technical, the quality? 100%. In 2 years, he should be playing 90 minutes every match. but like his maturity on the pitch to me is not there yet. I think he definitely has the potential to be world class. I think he has the potential to be one of the best players coming out of England over the next decade. But I just think he's still young. That's all I have to say. I've seen players with this potential fall off before. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Foden. I just don't think he's there yet. That's my
I've just thought of this is kind of interesting, but I don't know if you can even fit in the characters. The if you were to add 2 extra categories, it will be never will be overclass, never will be world class, and then will be. But I don't know. It seems like maybe too much.
I like that, yeah.
But it seems like maybe too much of that. Phil Foden, Darius.
He probably does.
Would
fit
you be
in.
heartbroken if I put him down here for right now?
Oh no, I was going to say he probably does, but like, just based on age, like Jimmy said, I think in 2 years' time, if he's 24, 23 years old and he's not starting every single game for City, then
maybe
you're going to struggle to make that excuse for Pep saying, "Oh, it's rotation," because he should be the best player in that team by then.
I mean, the way I see it is that to me, objectively, Bernardo Silva is more of a quality player than him at the moment. But
he'll surpass.
But Phil Foden is almost more effective, like going forward in a way. But Bernardo Silva plays with a maturity that Phil Foden doesn't. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And since we put him underrated. Yeah,
I think that's unsaid.
I think
that's really well said. Darius, we're gonna love this. Joao Cancelo for me, no question marks.
No debate.
Just go straight into that team, and probably even if we were talking about right back, goes straight into that team. Left back goes straight into that team. I don't know, even maybe center mid. You can make an argument he goes straight
right
into
wing,
that team.
left wing.
He's probably in my eyes one of the most absurd players in the world. I think he's had almost like a Cucurella-like season where he's played every single position, it almost looks like, in the entire 11, which is why maybe the numbers that he got this season don't do him justice. But there is a reason why Pep plays him in every single game. There is a reason why all the play goes through him. I think he had the most touches. I'm not even kidding. I think in the most for the Man City team this season, which just speaks to what Pep considers him. He considers him to be the number 10 more or less in that sort of team. I think Joao Cancelo is just honestly, I think we're privileged to watch the guy. Honestly, I rate him that highly. I think he's just absurd. And ever since I've even seen him at his Juventus days, I thought he was absurd. And it's good to see that Pep, is using him in the way that I know you probably should use him, Darius, which is basically, I think he is essentially their number 10. And I think I'm not wrong. I think he's had the most touches for them this season.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. I've got nothing else to add on to that unless Jimmy has anything else to add on. I think he's just.
Do you think we're overhyping Joao Cancelo? We're not going to allow you to say that we are.
No, I honestly, I like your sentiment on it. I feel like I need to watch him play more.
I think he's unbelievable.
To be fair,
I play
have
any
a natural
position
bias
in the 11
against him, but the fact that you tell me he's playing any position reminds me of Slot, and so respect.
Love that. Riyad Mahrez. This is crazy, but I like Riyad Mahrez, but perhaps overrated because some people put him at a pretty high pedestal. I must say for.
I can't put him in overrated.
It feels weird to put him there.
It's impossible to make these decisions with City players.
Don't worry, we're getting onto your team next. We are getting onto.
I know, but not because of my bias, but because of Pep's fucking rotation. It's like if you put Mahrez in a team where he's playing 90 minutes each season, then we can have a real, understanding of what he gives to you over the course of a full season.
I don't think he's underrated. So maybe let's just start this off. I don't think he's underrated at all because I feel like a lot of people talk about Riyad Mahrez. If you ask me,
he's so
people
excellent.
Rate him highly, and I think he is exceptional. I don't think he's world class though.
His goal versus Madrid.
If you look at his numbers, and like Jimmy said, in terms of rotation, and his numbers that he's put up are still very high. For me, I know we aren't talking about sort of everything in the past, but a player who can win the league at Leicester, go to City and win the league and be no different. He's fantastic. I actually think Mahrez, if it was me, I'd probably put him in the none of the above, but
but yeah.
I low-key
Yeah.
want to put him in world class because I actually do think Mahrez is world
Come
class.
on, Darius. No way.
I love
No way.
Mahrez, so I
Don't
think
say
Mahrez's feet again. Not many players
Yeah.
that can do what Mahrez does with his feet. It's like Robin, where you knew what Robin was going to do, run down the
Took the
line, cut
words out of my
in with
mouth.
his left and curl it in,
No.
but you couldn't stop it. Mahrez is going to cut back. You know Mahrez is going to do that cut back, but nobody can stop that cut
But
back.
Robin was
So,
like more rapid though. That was the thing. Robin had that like exceptional pace that
Exactly.
like came along with it. Where Mahrez, I don't think ever has had the pace. Mahrez has always been.
he's got
had to
he's
rely
got
on
the
being like
best
more
the best
intricate.
first
He's had
touch
to be
in
more
world football.
clever.
I would
The best
never
world.
compare Mahrez's career so far to Robin's career, and that's because of the way City is run, and that's a shame because it's possible that he could have as good of a career as Robin, but the way in the team that he's at currently, we'll never be able to see that, and he's spent so many years there now that it's like, how do we make that
Is
distinction?
he getting better with age? I kind of like that shout. Maybe Mahrez getting better with age because it
Yeah,
seems
Mahrez
like
is
Pep is
fantastic.
liking him more and more every season. Pep is liking him. It's a good shout.
He's got the
I want
best
to see
first touch in world
Mahrez be a
football.
leader in a team.
He's got the best first touch in world football.
That's my opinion.
That's tough. That is tough.
I don't know about that.
I need to know names because I can't think of any other names. I'm trying to argue
I'll
with
come back
myself.
to you later. People in the
Thiago.
chat, call out Darius. Who has the best first touch in world football? Everybody, get after him. Get after him. Just want to say, Welsh gal, really good to see you. And Amir Sardar, Bobby K, Ben Kaufman, so many legends in the house. Really do appreciate you tuning in, everybody. But Mahrez, I guess for right now, none of the above. Darius so close to getting him into world class. I'm vetoing everybody today, feeling a lot more powerful than I usually am when it comes to these tier makers. Last time I let everybody get their say. This time I'm kind of letting nobody overrule me today. But Kyle Walker, and I'm going to start this off. Darius, Kyle Walker, he went into David's World 11. And I thought that was interesting because David's logic behind it was he wants to have like a really attacking
This is a
fullback.
good one.
He had a really attacking fullback like in Alphonso Davies. And then he had
Mhm.
Kyle Walker to essentially make like a back three, because he said like Kyle Walker is still the best defensive right back in the world.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I could have disagreed. I don't know if I disagreed with him there with the fact that I think he might still be the best defensive right back in the world when he's fully fit. I don't know if he really offers you that much going forward as he used to back in the day, but there is an argument to be made about that he is still one of the best defenders in the world.
I think Kyle Walker, and as long as he can run half, maybe even a quarter of his speed, half his speed, I think he could probably still be one of the best defenders in the world. That's why it saves him so much. But even then, he is underrated, in my opinion. I actually think he is underrated because
is he world class? Do you think still?
He
was at one point.
You want to put him in two categories. He's like world class and underrated because he is world class, but I actually think he's underrated as well, just because he's been doing this for so long and he's not gotten worse. Let's be honest. I don't think Kyle Walker's gotten that much worse in the 4 or 5 years that he's been at City. I think he's been at City longer than that.
Solid ass warrior.
He's just basically Jimmy. He's one of those reliable players that if you put him in that right back position, he's going to do a job and he will get you out of trouble, and he will also probably be a threat going forward. So I even think when his pace runs out, it'll probably be a pretty solid centre back, to be honest, for maybe a couple years of his career. So
to like Serie A and be like a centre back or something.
He'd have the armband for me if I was the manager of City. He'd have the armband.
It's a good point to make.
You give it to De Bruyne, but sure. But like I think Kyle Walker is the most deserving of the armband in that team for how long he's been there for and his performances. I think this one is quite interesting to me because I love the talk about him and Trent for the English team. And I don't think this is funny because I think Trent is world class.
They're complete opposites. They're complete opposites sort of players.
I think Trent is world class, and I'm biased, and you can all talk about how Trent can't defend, but that's horse shit. But like, I find it hilarious. If I was to pick the English team, who's the left back for England?
Chilwell probably, or Shaw.
Get rid of him, play Kyle Walker on the left side, and let Trent be free to play dimes. Because you want Trent in the team because of his passing. Trent's not going to run down the wing like Walker. He's not going to defend like Walker. But you need Trent in the team. at the same time, you want Walker in the team because he's excellent defensively. I like this
And he's
idea
probably your
that
best defender in the team. He actually, in the England team,
yeah,
he is your best defender still. I
yeah.
think he's
What
better
about
than
three at the
Stones
back,
and he's
Jimmy?
better
What
than
about three at the
Maguire.
back with him playing right centre back and Trent as
I
a...
don't think England should be playing three at the back. I don't
Mm.
think anybody should play playing three at the back unless you have three world class center backs. Period. And or you're Antonio Conte and you're an expert and at it end you can do it with whoever. But that's a different story. And obviously he knows what reinforcements he needs. So, but yeah, I think England would be foolish to play three at the back. I don't think they have the personnel for it. I don't think they have one world class center back, let alone three. I think Trent has to be in the team one way or another. I would put Walker in the team.
I think that's kind of interesting that you just find a way to get Kyle Walker and Trent into the same team. I think we're going to leave him an underrated here, Darius. And I think he is secretly world class. And maybe he's like the best of the underrated, maybe because there is that argument that I don't think he's world class going forward anymore. I think at one stage you maybe could make the case that he was, but still to this day and for almost nearly a decade, it feels has been world class defensively, I must say, Kyle Walker. But maybe finish off the City players here. Gundogan, I'm also throwing in underrated.
Yeah,
I think he's been underrated for a long ass time.
I agree.
Has been sort of Pep's like similar to Joao Cancelo recently, but more for a longer period of time. One of Pep's secretly favorite players, clearly in that team, like makes the team no matter what. Gundogan, like even the games when he got exposed in the Champions League, with, playing Gundogan as like a defensive mid, he's more willing to get rid of Rodri than he is Gundogan. Like he absolutely loves Gundogan. And at one stage, Gundogan, I think, was almost playing like this sort of hybrid striker midfield role for him. Like he's had some world-class
moments. And scoring a lot of goals doing it as well.
I don't think he's world-class, but I think he's been underrated his whole career. I think he's been underrated his whole career. I don't think people talk about Gundogan enough. What do you think, Jim?
I just would love to see him. Like, I'd like to see players.
He was exceptional at Dortmund. I mean, if you remember, he took Dortmund.
I agree with everything that you said. My frustration is that I haven't got to watch him do that, and where a team where I really feel like it's Gundogan's team. Like whenever I think of a player, I kind of harp back to like, could they have done what Steven Gerrard did for 10 years? That's kind of my bar. And I'm like, I'd like to see how players do in those sort of situations where it's like back against the wall, they have to carry a team. Yeah, obviously it's easy for a player to come in and play, do well at a club that's already playing exceptionally well. Like, but I'd like to. I'm not even saying they have to be playing in a team that was as poor as Steven had around him at times. I'm just saying I would like to see them at least start week in, week out. Really feel like they have a place and like know what their role is to then have some kind of like heart and embodiment behind their at the club. If that makes sense.
I agree. I mean,
I have
it's
trouble
just a
judging
spoil of
players
riches.
without that.
It's a spoil of riches, and it's hard to really know like if some of these players, especially down here, if some of these players were playing week in, week out for a lesser team, would they be in the world-class category? Perhaps some of them would, and I think that's what Jimmy's kind of reflecting here, is that it's kind of a shame, in fact, because maybe they would have a bigger pedestal or like bigger reputation because, they're more the main man in their teams. Last one here, I'm throwing in the overrated. Darius or Jimmy.
Thank you so much.
Jimmy, I think, wants to go first. I think Jimmy wants to go first. Please, Jimmy. I'd say Jimmy, the worst finisher who in like the top level I've ever seen. Like this guy
so
is
effective
some of the
because
he
pays for it, but he's just disgusting to watch sometimes.
And the Olympique Lyon sitter, I think, is the best one. Remember that time where they almost made it to what would have been
the one versus Spurs? The one versus Spurs.
He's missed some of the best sitters, I think, in like history. Some of the best sitters in history and some of the biggest moments of history, I think. And Man City could have won a
multiple times
League
as well over multiple years.
Yeah,
because his heart's not in it.
I just think he can't finish.
He would have been better off staying in Liverpool. He would have learned.
I think, unfortunately, when you play in Pep's team as a left winger or a right winger, the system is programmed to basically give you an open goal. You score on an open goal, you're 4 yards out max when you're a winger scoring most of your goals under Pep. So he's still missing a lot of goals and still was scoring like 30 goals a season at one point. In my opinion, Raheem Sterling is one of the most overrated players in this whole list.
He is.
I don't
excellent,
even think he's
man.
world
Like,
class. I don't even think he's
to
world
be
class
fair,
in my opinion.
sometimes he just does a moment of class and he'll like put it in the bottom corner from the top of the box. But does he do that?
My hot take,
that with not playing in City? I don't know if he does that
I
for
agree.
Aston Villa.
My hot take is that if you put Damari Gray in Sterling's position over the years that he was at City, he'd probably get a similar output just because of the
That is
system
a
they
great
put in.
hot take. That is a great.
Really,
I
just
just-
better than Sterling. Objectively,
I just
in my
don't
opinion.
rate him. It's not that I'm saying I'm putting all of City's wingers in that list
Damari
either,
Gray.
because I think some City wingers have proven that they're good, but I just think that Sterling is no better than he's probably just a rung above Damari Gray, somebody like that. Harvey Barnes. If you put Harvey Barnes in that City team, he'll score the exact same amount of goals that Sterling
Harvey
scored.
Barnes, Damari Gray,
So-
just listing them off.
That's my opinion on Sterling, and that's my honest opinion on Sterling as well. Sorry, but
A shite
very
Craig
overrated.
I dig it. Liverpool time, everybody. Mo Salah, I don't really want to waste too much time here.
Yeah.
At one stage, we were
God, he's
calling
been
him
so
I think, the
shit
best
for the
player in
past 2
world.
months.
But at one stage in the beginning of this season, we were calling him the best player in the world. I think some people were saying. So obviously gets in there. Darius, maybe you can either, get away with something here, or you could cause an absolute riot. I know
There we
you
go.
like Trent, but you have had some interesting opinions on him before.
Trent's
Darius,
overrated. Very, very, very overrated. My opinion, third best right back in England's setup. And that's sorry, Jimmy, to say that, but you mentioned
That's
Trent
because
sort
England
of.
can't defend.
But that's because Trent can't defend either, and that's
No,
been
but
proven
that's
in the
because you
Champions
start-
League final.
You start okay. That was 4.
Let Darius go first.
I'm
Darius,
sorry.
give me the
Go
reason.
ahead.
Trent is
This
overrated.
is my this is again.
He
This
has
is my
the hot,
thing.
I think Jimmy has the easier argument here, so Darius
Go
is going to
ahead.
have to, give it.
I'm gonna probably
his
use another sort of Damari Gray-esque hot take with this again, Jimmy. So I apologize for
Nobody
what I
looks
say.
good when you have Harry Maguire center back. That's all I gotta say.
But when I look at Trent, I just think he is probably the best distributor of a ball for England in the Premier League. The assists prove that the throughout his whole sort of time that he's been a starting right back, he's consistently put in incredible balls that I don't think many other players in the world could ever do. But so does Jonjo Shelvey. And Trent going forward is good, but going back isn't that good. And as a right back, you do need to be able to defend. And there's been many a time that's been proven by Trent that his defense has caused his team to be put under pressure and significantly sort of be affected by it. So I'm not saying Trent's not a world-class player. I think Trent's got world-class ability, but I also think Trent's overrated and shouldn't be a right back if we're going to excuse his poor defending for his distribution. Put him in a deep line playmaker role in front of the centre backs, or put him in a position where he's able to just basically spray passes like Shelvey and Scholes did, and you'd probably get called world class. Because in my opinion, if we're calling somebody world class based on solely his distribution, Jonjo Shelvey's got a great ping on him, and we ain't calling Jonjo Shelvey world class. So
I love the Jonjo Shelvey comparison.
That's why I think he's overrated. But his ability is beyond world class, and I think a position change would probably make me change my entire opinion of him.
So world class, I like the distinction. World class technical ability, but with everybody, but Darius's argument is everybody rates Trent. Everybody rates Trent so high that Darius is like overrated because everybody rates him so high. Is that maybe the argument there, Darius? Like nobody underrates Trent, and maybe you're basically saying
I just think if we're basing him on a right back, he's not the best right back for England. Reece James is I would rather have a right back who is a better defender. And Reece James's distribution is not better than Trent's, but it's not sort of like way worse than Trent's. Reece James can put a serious ball in the box. So I would rather a right back who can defend better than Trent, but maybe not have his perfect distribution, than have perfect distribution and somebody who might have that one lapse in concentration that can cause that one goal that goes in that eventually, could lose the game. So as a right back, he's not world class. In terms of ability, if you put him as a centre mid, I think he probably is one of the best centre mid, maybe. But then again, he's been playing right back. This is my debate. I think as a deep line playmaker, Trent could be one of the best players in the league easily, because he wouldn't have much pressure on him with the players around him, sort of who Liverpool have in those areas. I think if he was partnered up as a double pivot with Fabinho, he'd have all the time in the world, in my opinion, to sort of do what Thiago's doing at the moment, and Thiago's beyond
I'm
amazing.
sorry, but the Trent at center mid shout is nonsense. It's like saying you should play Danny Alves as center mid for his whole career. It's just not like it comes down to a football mentality thing. And do you play out through the middle or do you play out through your fullbacks? And it's not. I agree with what you said. Actually, I don't think that Trent. I wouldn't consider Trent world class because I don't think his defending is world class at the moment. But I would take
Does he
the same
make up for it
perspective
though
on
with other
Trent.
things? Does he make up for the defensive, or does
His
the defensive
quality
ability
is
hurt him at the end of the day?
his quality over the past 4 years is exceptional. I think he's in the same boat as Phil Foden. We'll see where the
That's a good
trajectory of his
point.
career takes him.
Whoa, I like
I think
that.
he could be. I
A really
think
good
it
point.
would. I think within the next, like, yeah, we'll see. I think Trent will prove us one way or another to be world class. I mean, watching him in week out, I know Trent can defend.
Mm.
Having said that, does he have fuck ups? Yes, but the man is 21, 22.
Hmm.
And
I
from
think
what
I
he
think he yeah, that's a good point to make. I mean, do you think that Trent? For me, it's the fact that it's been 3 years and I've not seen the improvement. And is it just one of those things where like that's
but
just in his
where are the
game, the lapse of
mistakes? Okay,
confidence?
like this idea that he. Okay, first of all, if anything, he's gotten worse at defending over the past 3 years. Like when
Mm.
Trent was first in the team,
Mm-hmm.
he was excellent. He was just getting stuck left and right. I mean, he was like, that's the thing. Like he's still a scouser playing for Liverpool. Like he's getting stuck in it every week. Yeah, he has some lapses and he's caught out, but most of the time that's because he's pushing forward too far. Like, yeah, he was exposed slightly in the final, but I don't know.
There was a comment.
I
There was
think
a
it's more
comment that
that
was
Jay
made.
or
bullshit on
Jimmy.
the
I
whole.
don't think it's that. I don't think he's bad defensively, and I don't think. I think it's probably harsh to say that about him. I just don't know if he really has world class defensive
He doesn't have the
ability.
Kyle Walker pace to
Doesn't
get
have the
back
Kyle
when
Walker
he's up
defensive
there.
ability. Doesn't have Reece James's ability nowhere near. But he
But
makes up for it with everything else, which is kind of the confusing part about Trent. Is that his other
honestly,
abilities
Jimmy,
are so world class, but his
there's
defending is
a
not
comment.
world-class.
I don't know. I apologize. I don't know who made the comment, but there's a comment in the comment section. Somebody mentioned about Trent played as a right wing back. If there was an extra centre back to fill that space for him, I
He'd
think
be
he
the
could
best right
probably
wing
have.
back in the world.
He'd probably be the
That's
best.
for sure.
Well, under Kante, and I'm not obviously saying this will never ever happen, but under Kante, the amount of space that those fullbacks get, if our fullbacks could put a ball in the box, we'd probably
He'd almost
score
win a Ballon d'Or in
15, 20.
like
We'd probably score 15, 20 more goals. If Trent was playing in a team like that where the right wing backs have the majority of space, because your right backs have a lot of space, and most of the time that wide side have the space. He'd be
Maybe
putting
when
perfect balls in
Spurs
every
have
time.
the ball, but when Spurs don't have the ball and they're defending against a team like Liverpool and you're essentially playing five at the back,
But he's still got.
I
That's what I'm
wouldn't
saying. When
play
Emerson's
Trent
back,
there.
he's got Romero. When Emerson's back, he's got Romero, who's incredible as a centre back to protect him. That's why we are fortunate enough to be able to play Emerson. If Romero wasn't playing or we played four at the back, Emerson would look even worse than he did. So I think if you had somebody, I don't know who you would play. Liverpool would not play three at the back.
I don't want to argue about this anymore. I think we're at wit's end. I have to say that time will tell, and we will revisit this in a few years. And
the Foden point is a great point to make. I think they
Yeah.
probably are in a similar category, similar like point in their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there you are, everybody. Trent and none of the above. And there you are, the hot takes only here. Van Dijk, don't need to talk about it. Fabinho, I think he's better than Rodri. I'll start off there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's
Fabinho.
overrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think if you said that, that'd be harsh. Is he underrated? I'm not sure. Is he world class?
Slightly underrated in my opinion.
I think
but
slightly underrated. I'm not sure if he's world class.
He's as underrated as any other CDM, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. He's as
he's better
important to
than Rodri,
Liverpool
no
as
I'd
any
sooner have Fabinho than Rodri. I'd sooner have Fabinho in my team.
But you know, putting these
Fabinho is excellent when Liverpool are no. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, putting any of these players in none of the above or underrated or world class, like you can be sort of underrated and still have world class quality or still be world class. So I think calling Fabinho underrated isn't calling him not world class. You know what I mean? I just
I
think that
agree.
it's even more of a compliment to probably call Fabinho underrated and these players underrated, because you're acknowledging their world class ability, but not many other people are. If you know what I mean.
I agree.
Well said. Well said.
So
I
yeah,
think
sorry, just that's all I want to say.
no, you're spot on. I think Fabinho doesn't. I don't think we. Okay, here's my issue with judging Liverpool players right now is that I think personally, I think Liverpool have been shit for the past like 8 months compared to the levels we've been at. I know we went to the Champions League final and won 2 leagues, but like compared to the levels we've been at, we've been shit. And it's interesting to me because I want to harp back to something that Jack was saying a while back about this. The point we were making about the City players and the luxury of having this many footballers. I felt that Liverpool were worse this year because we had too many options going forward. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's kind of true. Like, if you guys watched the final, Liverpool didn't look like they were ever. I mean, we didn't look bad. They were running the game, we were keeping the ball, but we didn't look like we were going to score until Bobby came in. Bobby didn't play enough this season, period. Because we had too many players going forward. We had too many world-class players going forward, and there was a lack of consistency and thus kind of like a lack of heart that you get when you're actually putting that shirt on and representing for 90 minutes or 85 minutes or putting a job in week out.
Yeah.
And Jimmy,
And
what
so
a great point!
that was
What
our
a great
problem
point
this
that
season.
is. Look at our team. Look at Tottenham, for example. I mean, when January came in, that front three didn't change unless it needed to, and look at the output that they were producing. So again, it's a great point.
No, there's something to be said about consistency and like I myself as a player right now, the club I'm at is extraordinarily frustrating, and I don't. I consider myself like I represent myself at a professional degree, so I go and I show up, and I try my hardest week in week out. But I would be lying to you if I felt like I was like representing with all my heart week in week out, because it's impossible for the way the manager has put the position the manager has put me in. It's impossible for me to do that.
With Fabinho, maybe final point here, Darius, when you and I did our, top 6 predictions, this is kind of why he's sort of the player, which is why I put Liverpool at second place, for, my original season predictions, because Fabinho didn't play a huge part in, last season's or 2 seasons ago for Liverpool during that huge injury crisis. Van Dijk, we know, didn't, but for me, I know Van Dijk was the big loss, but I thought Fabinho for a huge part of that season was like the real loss. If you ask me, I kind of rate him that highly for that team. I think he sort of secretly makes the team click.
Honestly, Jack, if I was a Liverpool fan, even to this day, like right now, I would rather lose. And this is obviously, I don't wish injury on anyone, but I think it would be more of an impact if you lost Fabinho than Van Dijk, because I do believe that it's important to acknowledge like players who have no replacements in teams and who, if they were injured, who comes in and does Fabinho's role as good as him. I mean, I'm not saying Kante is anywhere near as good as Van Dijk.
Thiago.
That's a
Before we
good
signed
point.
Thiago, yes,
But I even still think
that was the
Thiago.
issue.
I even still think Thiago has a better role, sort of next to Fabinho, with him sort of doing all that defensive work. But it's just like Konate for me is incredible, and if Van Dijk was to get injured again long term, I think Konate the drop off wouldn't be significant, and that's why I think with Fabinho, as much as Thiago again would be fine, the drop off wouldn't be significant. I think it would be a lot more than that drop off with Konate and Van Dijk. So I think he's important in that sense.
It needs to be in the underrated and drop a mic on that
one. It's one of them. So I just think it's one of those where, again, as much as technical ability is important and that sort of importance of your role in the team and the fact that there's no other really replacement for a Fabinho player.
I'm trying to find my kit right now. Can't find the Fabinho kit.
So yeah, I'm gonna definitely say he's underrated, but I also would probably debate that he's probably world class at this point as well.
I'd agree with that. Thiago, this is kind of funny, Darius. I've always rated Thiago at a ridiculously high level. In fact, I think he's probably one of the most fun players to watch in world football for quite a long time. Makes football look easy. One of those guys that just loves to do everything in some sort of like freakishly stylish sort of way. and honestly is probably one of the best tempo setters in world football in general. World class. I think he was world class in that Bayern season when he won the Champions League with them. He was easily the best tempo setter in world football. Is he world class still, though?
I think he's had
I'm
an
not
I
sure.
don't know if Jimmy's going to agree because, again, I haven't watched Liverpool near enough this season, but from what I've seen with Thiago, I think he's had an exceptional season. I think he still is world class.
He just has world class ability. He does have world
Yeah.
class ability. I think
And I think they've
totally
looked a
agree.
lot worse, Liverpool, when he's not been in the team. And I think it's a big point to make, sort of, when you look at the Champions League final. Thiago he did definitely have some sort of injury because they were paying a lot of attention to it before the game, and it was very obvious that Kante was
about to say
potentially
that as well.
gonna start that game. But Klopp was desperate for him to play, and he got 76 minutes out of him as well. So, in my opinion,
well either.
He didn't play great, but he still wanted him on that pitch.
He didn't play. I think he had that was another issue with the final. I don't think Thiago was fit.
But there's a testament to Thiago and his importance to that team, and I think it's slightly underrated how important he is to setting the pace, and Liverpool not really looking like they are just a team that crosses and that's all they do.
Yeah.
But he's given them another dimension to sort of break teams open, and now with Mane playing in a striker role as well, those through balls onto a Mane who's rapid is another way that Liverpool can break down teams. So I think
I'd actually rather have Thiago at this point than Sadio or Mo. Because
he's big personality as well.
Love that.
He personalized. As much as I love Mo, as much as I love Sadio, they're replaceable in the job that they do for the team. I don't know
almost like
where
robots.
you find another Thiago. Where do you
They're almost like robots. As much as it's crazy, and I do really, really rate these two players. I love Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, and I think when they leave and we see like how well they actually did over a certain like period of time, we're gonna say like, yeah, these guys were elite, but they are almost like robots. I think you could probably like find for example, like Moussa Diaby at Leverkusen, I think could be like not exactly like Salah, but if Klopp was to coach him for 3-4 years, I think his output could go up to that 20 goal a season, almost 25 goal a season mark. So it's not to say that they aren't unique and amazing players, but the way that Klopp coaches them, they're like programmed to just purely produce goals, and there's no player that can do what Thiago does with the ball at his feet. Like even you watch his training videos, and I mean, he's pinging balls off his volley like it's nothing.
Training, bro. It's so entertaining
crazy.
to watch it training.
So yeah, that's a great point. Again, I think like you said, Mane and Salah could be replaced way easier than
training sessions alone are
world class. If Mo and Sadio go this season, I'm really honestly not even that worried because like Thiago, because we have Jota and Diaz. It's like to be honest, I would be more sad. Not all Liverpool fans will agree with me because they don't know what I'm talking about. But I'd be sadder to see Bobby go. I think Bobby is more important in the team. Bobby didn't play enough this season. Thiago didn't play enough this season. I think at the peak Mo and Sadio seasons or moments even, Bobby was pulling the strings.
Luis Diaz, world class.
I think he's none of the above.
Yeah. Not world class.
I think he's soon to be world class. He's
very close.
He just needs to get a few more goals. I think he just needs.
I think maybe if he gets some of that consistency, we'll see next season if Sadio leaves.
It's almost a matter of time.
If Sadio leaves, big moment. Watch this space. I would say with Luis Diaz, watch this space.
Two more years, and I think we'll be talking about him like we talk about Mane.
Chelsea players. I think we're just going to go through all the Premier League players, and then we'll just do a part 2 of this because I'm having lots of fun. But Rudiger,
I'm very down with that.
I've loved Rudiger this season. Absolutely loved him. He's been one of my favorite players secretly.
Me too.
And is he world class though?
Yes. Say it, Jack.
I don't know, Darius. I think he's like a Thomas Muller. I feel like he's like just one of those guys that's like.
Is Thomas Muller not world class?
Here's what I was gonna say. Thomas Muller, I think,
Thomas
is the greatest
more
donkey of all time. I think Thomas Muller is the greatest donkey of all time. Thomas Muller is the greatest ugly looking. He's the greatest ugly player to watch. The greatest ugly player to watch of all time.
I think you have to play.
He never does anything beautiful. He never does anything beautiful, but he does everything effectively. Thomas Muller. I think so. I think Rudiger is the same way. Like nothing Rudiger really does to me is like that graceful, that beautiful, or like anything, but it's just like simply so effective and like so ruthless.
Mueller is
Maybe you
world
do put
class
him
to
in
me at
world
this
class.
point, though. Like
Mueller is
Mueller
because
is
he broke
world class.
he broke the Bundesliga assist record. But we'll get on to
His
that for
goal
part 2.
scoring
But
in the World Cup.
seems
for
like you
Germany.
guys are feeling that way with Rudiger, though.
I don't
Like,
know, Jimmy. Are you agreeing with that?
I don't think I think he's playing at a world class level right now. But he
Yeah.
has to maintain that for a certain amount of seasons. Like
you
Mueller's
think
been
he
doing
will
this
at
for
Real Madrid?
15 years.
Do you think he will at Real Madrid? Do you think he's going to have an
I
impact?
think it's a great signing, but I don't think he does anything that Tomori hasn't done for Milan this season.
I mean, that's a great point.
Someone said he made the German national team and is a starter in the German national team, which essentially makes him world class.
It's Rudiger, Schlotterbeck, and who else do they play?
The competition, I would say, is not as good as it used to be. I think it's like Zula, Schlotterbeck.
Zula
I
as
think
well,
he
yeah,
improves that
Schlotterbeck,
team
Rudiger.
at this point, though. I think it's good for them.
No, he's the best center back in that team, actually. I think he probably is the best German center back.
And his
available.
distribution is exceptional as well.
He's excellent. I just don't think he's
a winner.
Claimed
a winner.
I don't think he's claimed that title yet. That doesn't mean he can't claim it if he continues these levels.
So does that mean that he's going to be partnering?
I feel weird
David
to put
Alaba
him here,
then?
though. This is the thing. It feels weird to put him here. Like
He's a Champions
I
League
think he's
winner.
I think he's underrated because I don't think.
To be honest.
maybe yes,
I don't think
underrated.
people
Maybe
really
people don't give him
appreciate
enough
him that much.
respect. No
No,
one
he
gives
doesn't.
him enough respect.
No, I think he's underrated.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree with that. I'm happy with that.
The fact
He's
that Chelsea
underrated.
haven't tried harder to hold on to him, I think, is a failure on their part.
He didn't even make team of the season for some people this year, and I thought that was an absolute crime. I was just
Wow.
I thought Rudiger was one of the best center backs in the league this season.
I've
far.
thoroughly enjoyed watching him play this season. To be honest, I knew he was gonna. I knew it was a good signing when they got him, and the fact that they had. The only reason we haven't been talking about him for the past 3 years is because he's been sitting the bench because they're morons.
Yeah, pretty much. They haven't played him, and then as soon as they started playing him, he basically they couldn't drop him, could they? So
no, they couldn't. Absolutely. Definition of an overrated. Another one like Sterling, Lukaku. Maybe
you know what? As bad as it is,
Lukaku's underrated.
Whoa. I don't know if he's underrated. I think he's proven that he's overrated. I think he's proven that he's overrated. I like Lukaku, Jimmy. We both like Lukaku, but I think he's proven.
Is it the system though, Jack? Is that system the reason why he's not performing?
But the fact that I think he can't adapt to that system shows like maybe his limitations. That shows his limitations.
I think Lukaku is underrated in the fact that
and he doesn't have a right foot.
There's not that many number 9s left in world football, and
but he's nowhere near close to the ones that I see on this list.
What? Show me a number 9.
Nowhere near close to Harry Kane. He's nowhere near close to Haaland. He's nowhere near close to Mbappe. Okay. Nowhere near close to
Mbappe is not a number 9. Mbappe is not.
I think
Vlahovic. I'd rather have Vlahovic than Lukaku. I'd rather have Vlahovic.
I think Lukaku's exceptional. I saw him play against. I think he's being screwed over by Chelsea right now. I mean, you saw what he did with Inter this season before. I think you have to build it. If you buy Lukaku, you build a team around him because he's, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're not winning the Champions League if you build the team around Lukaku.
That's not necessarily.
Do you not think?
I don't think he's world class, but I think he's underrated because he's not.
He still lost to Sevilla in that year with Kante.
I think he's disrespected. I don't know if he's underrated.
I actually have no idea where to put Lukaku because last season he had an unbelievable season, and then I feel like I want to jump on the bandwagon and be like, Lukaku scored 7-8 goals in the season, Timberland's on his feet, do you know what I mean? You want to jump on the bandwagon, but I just feel like if he was in the right team, he probably would, and as proven. I mean, Everton, West Brom, these clubs, he scored significant amounts of goals for them.
Looks great when he plays, by the way.
So I don't know. I think I'm gonna go for none of the above. That would be my choice.
I guess
you guys are overriding me here. Yeah,
I guess that's fair. I don't know if he's overrated or underrated. I just think he's disrespected.
I don't know. That's what I mean. It's is he just the better version of Antonio, or is he better than that? Because I feel like I
think he's much better than that. I just don't think he's anywhere close to world class. I think he had the opportunity to prove that he's world class this season, and I think he fell. I think he fell on his face. As much as I want to blame the system, but you can't blame. In my eyes,
adapting is a good point to
He's good when he plays, though.
Thomas Tuchel is
He's
a
not
world-class
played- he's
manager,
not
though,
played
so I just
poorly.
don't know how much I can blame Tuchel. At
This
the
is
end of the day.
the hardest one for me. This one was
But why did they
has been
sign
the
him?
hardest one.
Yeah, then that's maybe the thing. Why did they sign him then? Why did they sign him
Mm.
if Tuchel wasn't going to find
It's like
him, useful? Yeah,
Like, right. It would be like Pep signing Lukaku. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
maybe. Yeah, that's to be fair. That's probably that's a tough one. Leaving him there still feels weird. It feels weird. I kind of liked jumping on the bandwagon and putting him in the
Just want to
neighborhood. It
call
felt
him a
good.
donkey.
Felt good. I also drafted him for fantasy this year, so that's probably why I
Oh,
just
you're
wanted to throw him
hurting.
in
You're
there.
definitely
So
hurting.
Yeah.
maybe my bias came through there. Maybe my bias came through.
You're definitely
Mason
hurting.
Mount. I'll be
Another
honest.
hard
I
one.
kind of hate the look of his face, and I kind of hate everything about him. But I
He's
can't
so good, though.
disrespect him because I think he's exceptional. I think he is exceptional.
Yeah, I agree.
He's
I
not
think,
world.
in
He's
fact,
not
if
world class. He's not
anybody-
world
I've
class
said this
though, is
before,
he?
Darius. I've said this before
agree
to
with
you,
all
and I
that.
think you disagreed with me here, Darius, because you said it should be Havertz. But I think Chelsea should build the team around Mason Mount, if anybody.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation with you. I still think it should be Havertz. I still think Havertz is the
Yeah.
more important of the
That's
players.
how much
But
I rate Mason Mount, maybe.
you know what? He's not world class, but I agree with everything you're saying. And you know what? I was looking back at like
underrated.
no, because the Chelsea fan base rate him
Yeah,
so
what am I saying?
highly.
I don't want to do that. I don't
So
I
like
actually
I
think-
can't
I think Mount and Lukaku are better than Havertz, and that's a hot take
Really?
because Havertz always plays and he's their striker right now. But
Mhm.
I understand why he's playing, but objectively, like skill based, I think they're both better than Havertz.
It's difficult, man. I think Mount's gonna stay in England and Chelsea for a while. It's one of those where you wanna, like you said, you wanna actually dislike him. You probably don't like his face. You probably you're a rival fan who doesn't want to really rate a
He's
player
quite good,
like that.
isn't he?
But he's very good. He's more than quite good, Jimmy, and that's the thing. Like I want to kind of say he's quite good. He's just an English player. Like Foden's better, but he's been carrying.
If we had that creative midfielder role that we're looking for, Mason Mount, if he wasn't playing for Chelsea, probably top of my list.
And
I
his-
would say.
and you know what?
Sergei Milinkovic-Savic is the top of my list. If I knew Mason Mount was available, I'd have serious considerations. That's how much I rate Mason Mount.
And you look at the numbers. You do look at his goals and assists, and they are very high as well. I mean, he does score quite a lot of goals from different angles.
For a
So
weird season for Chelsea as well.
I'm
I'm
not in any debate. I'm not in any debate. I don't think he's world class. I think he's a bit of a way off as well, to be fair with you. But like he's like when you look at you think about cliches and stuff, mentality and people who want to drive and thrive to be the best player that they can be. I think he does want to sort of lead Chelsea to continue being a dominant force. Yeah, I can't argue with that at the moment.
No, I think leaving him a none of the above just feels right. Chelsea, end of the day, I'm not crying over it. Havertz, Darius, I don't really have much of an opinion on Havertz apart from the fact that I think he is probably their striker for the future. I think they should just continue to develop him as that false nine. But what are your thoughts on Havertz? Is he also a none above?
I dislike Havertz more now because he plays for Chelsea. When he was at Leverkusen, if you had caught me talking about Havertz, I'd be waxing lyrical about Kai Havertz.
Here, I bet.
Yeah, but he joined Chelsea. I wasn't very happy. He's
not a striker for me.
You know what it is? He's not, but in terms of what Tuchel does and the way that Tuchel plays, he
doesn't need to be.
He doesn't need to be, yeah. And I think that like you look at you look at what Mount does, and like for me, Kai Havertz in terms of interplay and for a big guy, his feet is exceptional, and he can bring the ball down in tight space. He can play between players, and I think Lukaku hasn't got that ability like Kai Havertz does, but Kai Havertz can also finish, and I actually think he's
a bit of a shithouse, I must say as well. Havertz, like
he's very, very good.
He's like he steps on people's toes, like he rakes people's like heels, like he does a lot of kind of nasty stuff as well. Like I think he actually has adapted to the Premier League. Like
a friend of mine, a Chelsea friend of mine, he said he's the closest to Drogba that he's seen since Drogba's been at Chelsea. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? And he was like, you think about it, and he was like, he scores goals in big games just like Drogba did. He scored in Champions League final, Club World Cup final. I think he scored in one of the finals. Oh no, they went to penalties both finals this year. So
scores in their Champions League games. He always.
I think he scored in big games, and he's been pivotal in big games. And I think a lot of those Chelsea fans like acknowledge that, and they really do sort of pride that sort of if you can
I
have
would
one
never
impact.
say he's overrated.
No, never. I wouldn't say he's
I'm just
underrated
not a
either, though.
huge fan.
Definitely
That's
not
why he's
underrated.
perfect. He's
Definitely not
perfect for none
underrated.
of the above because he's definitely not world class either. But he's not overrated and he's not underrated. So I think this is probably the
My
perfect name to
frustration with
describe
him is that I don't know. I have a bias for strikers, and he's not a striker.
him.
And the fact that he's keeping Lukaku out of the team frustrates me.
Mhm.
You're
I
probably
think
judging
Lukaku
him
should be
as
in
a
the team.
striker as well, which is why you
Jimmy,
feel
do you think
Well,
they could work as a
exactly.
two?
I love that. Sure. I just think I think Lukaku is so objectively better than all the other striking options that he just has to be in the team.
You work around him.
Well, in the same way, it's like you find a way to put him in the team. Like when Lukaku comes on, they look stronger going forward, and it's almost like they're always about to score, and then it's like, oh, they didn't quite find a goal there because they only played him for like 20 minutes. It's like, well, why don't you give him?
And then they go and blame him.
Yeah, and then they go and blame him. It's like, Lukaku is the only one that made Van Dijk and Konate sweat this season.
Except
I guess you could.
Spurs. Except for
I
Kane and
still
Son,
think
yeah,
Lukaku is the most difficult one. I still think Lukaku is the most difficult one that we've done so far.
Except for Kane and Son, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And Dele Alli, to be fair, somehow.
Oh god.
But Kovacic, I think absolute underrated.
Straight away.
Absolute underrated. Anybody disagree with me here? Anybody think he's overrated?
I definitely don't.
I need to watch him play football more, but when I
one of the
watch
best
him, he's quite
dribblers
good.
out there, Jimmy. You would love him.
Yeah, he is
one
the
of
best ball
dribblers
carrier.
out there. One of the
He had that
tiniest feet in the
filthy
world.
goal against us last season too.
Yeah. He's some of the tiniest feet in the world.
Was just a season?
I think that was the end of last season.
No, it was this season just gone because I voted that my goal of the season. I voted it my goal of the season this season because I was just thinking, was it last season or was it like this season? It was this season because that was my goal of the season with the 2-2 against you guys, wasn't it?
What league? What championship was that?
That was in the Premier League. That was my Premier League. That was my Premier League goal of the season.
That was God, that pissed me off. I was like, fuck.
That was an insane goal.
I was like, God damn it.
That was such an insane goal.
Yeah.
What do you think, though, Darius? In my eyes, actually, for at least center mids, like I think he's hands down probably one of the best, at least ball carrying.
He should get more playing time.
Again, I think he's been injured, Jimmy. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know if I'm right, but I think he's been injured because I don't see why they wouldn't play him more often. Do you know what I mean?
Like, build the team around him, really.
Yeah, like he would be one of the. I mean, what Real Madrid were thinking about selling him?
He does everything.
Was mad, but the Chelsea bought him for 40 million, and everybody thought they got shafted by Real Madrid, and he's turned out to be one of the most underrated signings. To be fair, so I'm gonna say underrated. Don't know if he's world class. I don't know if I can call him
I don't think
he's
world class, but definitely underrated. I don't think given enough respect because the reason I think he's underrated is because of this guy, and I think this guy is fat overrated. I actually like Jorginho. I like Jorginho,
he's good.
But
he's
I think
good. He's just not as good as everyone.
Kovacic, never spoken about. Jorginho, it's like you can't, get him out of your ears. It feels like you're just always hearing about Jorginho, never hear about
such a
this
good
guy.
point.
Yeah, I don't think Jorginho's a bad player either. I just think he just doesn't. Yeah,
fifth in the Ballon d'Or or whatever it was, fourth or something.
Yeah, I don't know who was thinking about.
Overrated.
He's the Henderson of Chelsea. And that's disrespecting him.
That's an amazing analogy though, because I actually don't really rate Henderson, but I can still accept that he's a very, very important part to that team and Liverpool. Right. So I agree.
Yeah,
100% agree with that. That's a great point.
But having said that, Hendo will hit a banger every once in a while. I haven't seen Jorginho score a banger.
And he's a proper leader, Henderson as well.
Yeah.
Kante no longer world class.
Not this season. Not after this season. He's had a horrible season this season, in my opinion.
I would say none of the above. In fact,
I think he's had his worst season since. Joining like Leicester.
I got a question for Darius on Kante.
Go on.
Could you say overrated?
Are you in London, right?
I'm in Nottingham, so like 2 hours from London.
Okay, close enough. You're in England.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do the Chelsea fans say of Kante in comparison to Essien? To me, Kante has not lived up to that. But
see,
what do they say? I feel like they rave about him. I don't even.
You see, that's the thing. In my opinion, I'm kind of on that bandwagon with the Chelsea fans because this is going to sound crazy, but in my opinion, Kante is top 5 midfielders of this generation, this current midfield flocker generation. Because you look at it
That's
and you
why
think,
I proposed this question. You know?
you look at it, and to be fair, you're right. The Chelsea fans rave about Conte, but it's sort of like in England, nobody really argues it. He's kind of got that son status where everybody just loves him. So it's like, even if you're a rival fan and Chelsea fans are splitting these crazy statements about him, you kind of don't mind. And when you look at what he's actually,
fans say, like, okay, where does Conte match? Because he's definitely world class in a way, but where does he match? For me, he's not as complete of a player as some other midfielders.
I don't think he's as
you know what I
complete,
mean?
but the
He's
role
not
he
box
does,
to box exactly. But I mean, he is, but he's not going forward like that.
I think there's more complete midfield. I think hypothetically you could call Paul Pogba a more complete midfielder than Conte, but Conte is by far a better midfielder than Pogba. Do you know what I mean? He's just exceptional at what he did, and for me, I can't argue that Kante isn't one of the best midfielders of this generation, because he came to Leicester. He was the best player at Leicester, won the league. Then went to Chelsea, was the best player at Chelsea, won the league. Then won the World Cup. Then won a Champions League. Then won a Club World Cup. He's won every single trophy you could possibly win, domestically or with your country. So. And he's been important in every single big game as well. Like in the World Cup, he was important for France. In the Champions League winning season that Chelsea went on, he was man of the match in the quarter, semi, and the finals. Like, he is important, and it's not like he's scoring goals as well. So people don't even use the GA excuse for Kante. He's just that good. People see what he does on the pitch. He wins the ball back, and he just gets his team going. So this season he's been horrible. What
do you think he lines up between like the English midfielders of last generation of like Gerrard and Lampard?
I think it will be. I think personally he's with those guys, because you look at performances, he's there. You look at impact in his team, he's there. You look at accolades,
Stevie, no way. Lamps, maybe.
But for Leicester, like without Conte, there's no way Leicester win the league, and even without Chelsea, there's no way Leicester win the league. I mean, there's no way Chelsea win the league.
But you pop Frank Kessie in there. You pop Frank Kessie in there today in that Leicester team, they'll still win the league.
No.
Do you think? See, I think Conte was that good. I think he was that good.
Way too much disrespect. That's way too much disrespect.
I think Conte's
I would say not Kessié, Kante, probably the best winner of like the last. Like the guy's won more than any other player. Like he's won everything. Like 6-7 years. The guy's won more.
He's won absolutely everything.
Won the World
That's
Cup.
why I struggle to like argue with these Chelsea fans, Jimmy, because like there's not really much I can stand
on. Can't say that. Way too much disrespect.
I'm not trying to disrespect.
I'm sorry, Kessié. In fact, for me, Kessié goes an overrated.
He's not complete for me.
He's not.
Oh, please.
Kessié goes in the overrated. That's why he's
not.
For
me, they just won the Scudetto. You carried them for like 2 seasons.
Yeah, but you just said that Kessié would win Leicester City the Premier League. Like that's.
No, I'm just saying that he could have done the job that Conte did in that season.
He's never got nearly the defensive numbers. He's never got even close to the defensive numbers that Conte does.
It's tough. I would
like to see Kessié in the Prem.
That is something I do want to see, actually, because I don't know whether he is overrated or not, but I do want to see that. But Conte, for this season, for this list, I think he's good where he is, because I ain't going to lie, as much as I've just been waxing lyrical, he's had a pretty poor season this season.
He's had a shocking. Yeah. And he's been injured. He's been injured,
but he's still had a pretty... I mean, some games he's been pretty
Conte
poor.
is not at Steven Gerrard level, please.
But he's won
just
like
different type of player though, very different. Yeah, he's like been the best.
He's
the best winner of anything in like the last like 5, 10, even 10 years.
Are we talking about winning titles? Or are we talking about quality of the player?
Not even winning titles. We're talking about winning World Cups, winning titles with a team that will never win a title ever again. And then we're talking about
I just think Conte is Chelsea top 5.
I'm not even disrespecting him. I'm just throwing shit out there because
I think. I genuinely do think Conte will be spoken about in the Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, like De Bruyne as well. I think those two will be the 2 centre mids of this generation that will be like put into that.
At least
like
for the Premier League. At least for the Premier League midfielders.
No, he's not on De Bruyne levels for me. I'm sorry.
Wow, unbelievable.
Different players though. Different players.
Reece James.
This is what I want Jimmy to take. I want Jimmy to take this one.
I think he's underrated, Jimmy. I think more people talk about this guy. More people talk about Trent than they talk about Reece, and I think that's disrespectful to Reece James.
I think Reece James is an excellent player. I think okay, there's certain players in my opinion that have kind of like X factors where it's like they're just objectively better than they are, and for me that kind of makes them underrated and thus excellent to watch, but like the majority of the public will not agree with that. It's like Bobby, Trent. I think Reece James is just objectively an excellent footballer. I don't think he like I don't think there's any I don't know if I don't really think he has that X factor, but he's kind of just like a new Kyle Walker.
Good at everything. He's sort of good at everything.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think he's underrated in my eyes, Darius, because I feel like more people talk about other fullbacks. Yeah. More people talk about other fullbacks in the Prem than I think they talk about Reece James, at least for me.
I mean, people talk. I think people talk about Tariq Lamptey more than they talk about Reece James.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think that means he's underrated for me. Because that sounds crazy. Because you think like Reece James, like everybody knows who he is, but
I feel like I'm just out of the loop on all the bullshit these days. Like I just
even the worst thing is even Aaron Wan-Bissaka, like
fuck off.
Oh no, I'm not even trying to kid you. I'm not even trying to kid you.
They absolutely rave about
Jimmy.
Bissaka.
Literally, they used to bang on like he was the next coming of Saint, and I used to say this guy is I used to think he's below mid, mate. Like genuinely not that good. Like not good at all.
Then they go and they bench Tejas.
And it's like and it's like and obviously like. When I say in terms of Trent, like it's similar with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, like he has one exceptional skill, but even then, like Reece James and Aaron Wan-Bissaka should not even be a debate. Trent and James are that's the debate.
In the same room, I would say.
Like and there was people trying to debate that. People trying to bring Reece James down to that level when he is on that level of Trent. He's competing with Trent and Kyle Walker.
Truthfully, they should just not start Harry Maguire. They should just start Kyle Walker center back and then
really and truly
play Reece James at left back.
Yeah,
I mean Reece James could play as a centre mid.
He could play. Yeah, I was gonna say he could play most positions. If I'm gonna be honest,
I want him.
Harry Kane.
I think he's excellent defensively.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
No, he's probably Reece James. I think his best attribute is defensively.
He showed that in the final.
His best attribute is defensively, Reece James, but he's also an incredible finisher. Like that's what
and distributor as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he looks like he reminds me of Ashley Cole when he gets on down the wing.
The whole reason Spurs are feared. These two world-class players, no debate about it. It's the only reason we even beat the likes of Liverpool and Man City.
This is the only thing I do want to say about these two, because again, I'm not even going to speak about where they should go. I think the next one maybe.
I'm not even going to speak at all.
All I'm going to say is this, and I'm only saying this because this has got something to do with your club, Jimmy. I always said this: if Klopp ever managed to get his hands on Son, I think Son would be like one of the best, like genuinely like. Ballon d'Or competing like that good. Like I think Klopp and Son would have been the most perfect like match of manager and player you could ever find, but you didn't get him. Nah. So we've got Son, you haven't got Son. And I heard, you know what? I read something that Alistair Gold put out that you guys were gonna potentially try and test your luck with Son this summer had we not got top 4 and see how much resolve Daniel Levy had. But you ain't gonna get anything for this. I don't think Son's ever gonna
like 200 million is probably what our price tag is on him.
But I do think Klopp and Son is like match made in heaven. I think that would have been the best combo between a player and a manager ever.
Here's the way I see it. I know you guys love Sonny, and I think he's exceptional. I think Klopp can do that with. There's so many players in the world that Klopp can do that with. I feel I feel like he just we just went to Portugal and went we'll take Diaz, and now that's what it is. Like, I feel, and the honestly, the amount of exceptional players there are around the world that just need a proper manager, and the support of their manager, and then they reach those new heights. This is why when I say I'm like, all right, let Mo and Sadio go if they want to go, because we'll just do it again. Like, if people forget that's what we did with them originally, and Klopp made them into that. And then we just do it again. Like it's Sadio, good player for Southampton, but not to these heights. And then also Mo, Chelsea reject. And we'll just do it again. He'll just do it again. That's the way I see it.
No, the last thing I would say about these two is the reason they're world class, and the reason there's no debate about these two being world class is because the whole reason and the only reason that Man City fears us are because of these two players.
I mean, the whole
They're
reason
like,
we're
they're
in the
not
top
afraid
half
of
of the
anyone
table is
else.
because of these two.
And teams can't even figure us out. Like, they all know it's like Sonny and Kane. If you take out those two, you beat Spurs. And it's like, but still for years, teams haven't been able to do it, no matter how hard they've tried. And that just speaks to how world class those two are.
I think Kane's a cut above Sonny, to be honest.
I was just about to ask you, Jimmy, if you, as a Liverpool
Yeah,
fan,
because we
could
never
take
get to
one of
ask
these two
non-Spurs
players.
fans. Yeah,
if you could
I'd have
choose
Kane
between
over
one of
Son.
these two. Really?
Oh yeah, any day of the week, to be
Whoa,
honest.
it's so
to be honest-
interesting to me.
Okay, I just feel like, okay, this is why. Because I feel like, just like my example with Diaz, is that you can go and like pilferage a bunch of teams and get a player of Son's profile, and Klopp can turn him into that guy, right? Just like we've just done with Diaz and Jota. You know, maybe less of a profile with Jota, but you hear what I'm saying.
Mm.
I think Kane is the only strike for me. He's like the only person that does what Bobby does and has the goals. And I think Kane is irreplaceable.
I don't think there's another striker in the world like Kane. But to be fair, though, like with Sonny, I think Sonny sort of put respect on his name this season because, honestly, Darius, I think he had more left-footed goals than he did right-footed goals, if I'm not mistaken, this season.
He did. I think he's had the most left-footed goals ever in a season, or most weak-footed goals
most
ever.
Most left-footed goals ever in a season. The most,
He's
probably
exceptional.
the best two-footed player.
I
Probably
don't
the
wanna
best two-footed player in world football, I might say.
Because he is exceptional.
Yeah,
I think
it's
he's
a
no
difficult
doubt world
question.
class. He's no
think
doubt
Kane
world
is.
class. But the big question is, who would you rather have in your team? I think Jimmy does make a good point.
Yeah, I
And,
was just about to say, I don't want to
Harry
admit it.
You
Kane-
can't replace
Yeah.
Harry
Harry
Kane.
Kanes don't really grow on trees in the same
No.
way. But do Sonnies grow on trees? No, like they don't grow on trees
think
either. But like
Sonnies
maybe
don't
you
grow on
might
trees.
find the
could
next Sonny more than you might find the next Harry Kane.
Yeah, you could find an ambidextrous winger who's quick and who's got good finishing. And if you, like Jimmy said, if you gave him to Klopp, you could probably make like a very, very similar version of Son. Obviously, it wouldn't be of Sonny's level because Sonny is just beyond that level. But you could find a player and maybe mold them into that, Son type player.
Yeah,
I think
no disrespect
Kane's
to him.
abilities
I just think Kane's a cut above.
Yeah, his abilities and his skill set comes. It almost like it's you say
It's
you're
more
born
rare.
with
He's
talent.
more
You're
rare.
born with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like that skill set that he's got has just
He's
come
so
from.
raw. Yeah, that's also the
Crazy.
thing about Kane. He's just like it's this man's got a little bit of a belly on him, and it doesn't fucking matter. He's just fucking
Who's better, Jimmy?
tank.
Between these two, De Bruyne and Kane, who's better in your eyes? Who would you rather have?
That's a
I
great
think
question.
objectively, De Bruyne is better, but I think that Kane is also like more irreplaceable.
Yeah,
Like
I think they're both-
you can find somebody to do De Bruyne's job, but like
Yes, the Pulse
there's
Slay.
nobody
Yes, the
who
Pulse
does
Slay.
De Bruyne's job. De Bruyne is the closest thing to Steven Gerrard that I've seen this generation. That's what I say.
Yeah,
And
that's actually he
is
is.
that
this
just in
closest
terms
to
of like
Gerrard. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
like
skill set,
overall ability, skill
Yeah.
set, put the team on your back, scores goals,
Yeah.
everything. He just has it
From
all
midfield. From midfield.
yeah, and he runs
Yeah.
the team. Yeah,
Yeah,
whereas
okay.
like Kane is harder. Like the thing is like you can, if you lose De Bruyne, you can like buy a world class midfielder like Thiago, and you can pretty much get the same thing, even though it's not at that level of like doing everything, because like you'll take some of those responsibilities and push it to the strikers. But and so in a way it's more more replaceable. But I think that objectively, De Bruyne is a better player than Kane. If that makes sense.
I love that.
I like
love
that.
lads.
I do like that a lot.
Romero, underrated or world class? I'm not taking. It's one of the two for me. One of the two.
I'm ready for my hot take whenever Jimmy's finished answering.
I
want
don't
Jimmy to
seen
go.
enough of
I
Romero.
gotta get out of jail free card on this one. I ain't saying shit about it.
Hey, look, you're giving me the free fire now, mate. I'm going to
Okay,
go. I'm
but
going to
Darius,
say it.
like, if
I
you're
don't watch
you're about to do
people
this,
play
what I think
football
you're about
enough.
to do, Ruben Diaz, way better than Ruben Diaz in my eyes.
Oh, he's better than Ruben Diaz.
Really?
Look at Van
Yeah.
Dijk, like
The only
Relax.
person, in my opinion, the only centre back you can debate is better.
Is he better than
Romero.
Joel Matip? Is he better than Joel
yes,
Matip?
yes.
No.
I think the
Fuck off.
only centre back you can debate, maybe two centre backs, is Rudiger and Van Dijk. other than that, Romero's the best.
Yeah, maybe like if Rudiger is in underrated, maybe Romero stays in underrated. Yeah, maybe that's
because if Rudiger and Van Dijk, in my opinion, are like the two best centre backs in the league. But
I
like
think
if
you guys
I'm
are
putting my
culturally
bias cap
obsessed
on,
with him in the way that I'm culturally obsessed with Matip.
yes, literally. Like I think Romero. Like if you let me say what I want on camera without like any filter, I'd say Romero's better than Van Dijk, best centre back in the world. I'd say
That's
that
what I'd be
with my
saying.
chest.
I'd literally be saying that Matip is better than Van Dijk all the time.
So that's my, you know what I mean? That's my, I'm going to not even have a level head answer. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks, but you know, because I don't really want to get clipped and taken the absolute piss out of. I'm going to just keep it level headed and
especially
say,
these days, definitely
he's in that top three. It's Rudiger, Van Dijk, and Romero for me, the best three centre backs in the league.
I like that. Romero, I'll be honest, if I take off my Spurs cap, just because he wasn't as available as much as Rudiger was this season, if I only had two center backs to pick, I might go Van Dijk and Rudiger, and then Romero is the third.
Joel Matip was our best center back this season.
He probably was.
But
I also think Van Dijk to come back seamlessly.
Anybody that watches,
is he our best defender? No. Was he our best center back this season? Yes. That's the way I'll put it.
I think that's maybe Romero gets up there, but I think we're going to put him in underrated. If Rudiger stays in underrated, I think Romero stays in underrated. I think Rudiger has just been that exceptional. Marcus Rashford, I'm going to now put an overrated because I'll be honest, when's the last time this guy honestly has done anything at a world-class level or even at like the level that we all expected him to be at this sort of stage in time? He's even looking like he doesn't exactly like football anymore. That's a concerning thing to be talking about.
Is he a counter-attack merchant? Is he a pure counter-attack merchant?
I don't even know, but here's the other thing. He moved
He's
from
better
being
than
a
Sterling,
striker.
though.
He used to be a striker.
What?
I think he should never have moved to left wing. I think he should have stayed as a striker because he's always looked better as a striker than he ever has. I think he's looked garbage at times as a left
I agree.
winger.
Like, and I've seen sort of like West Ham linked with him for like as a sort of a desperation move away. I even think the rate he was playing and the level he was playing, I even think it's debatable that West Ham's his level. I think you're looking at like Leicester's and potentially like Aston Villa's that rung below. But for me, Rashford, I don't want to get like too, you know, like onto him because I do think back to like 2-3 years ago and I remember what he was doing when it was sort of like, you know, Greenwood, Martial, Rashford. I think it was 2 years ago when they all had sort of like 30 goal involvement. And he was one of the best players in that team.
Who's United's striker right now?
Ronaldo, isn't it?
Kron.
I guess it's Kron, yeah.
So
they should. They had. Oh, sorry. What's the Frenchman?
Martial.
Why did they sell Martial? Why was he not playing? Every time he played, he was
garbage. That's why.
I think he. You know what, Jack? I don't know how you feel about this, Jack. But
I thought Martial was good.
I think Martial's
good under Ten Hag. Ten Hag might be able to get something out of him. I think
he'd be like an Antony.
I think he's a good player.
He'd be like an Antony for Ten Hag. He'd be like an Antony, an exceptional dribbler.
Do you think Rashford? And this is the thing. I think Martial could get a little bit of a career revival at Man United under Ten Hag.
Klopp would make Martial good at left wing.
I don't feel the same with Rashford. I don't think Rashford is going to get any. But I think, you know what? I honestly think we've seen the best of Marcus Rashford.
That is possible, unless he leaves United.
It's similar to Dele Alli.
I think we've
genuinely seen the best of Marcus Rashford. As much as he does leave, Jimmy, I still don't think you'll get a 20 goal a season Marcus Rashford, even if he goes somewhere else. And that's I don't think the drop off will be as bad for Rashford as it will be for Dele Alli, because Dele Alli, I think Dele Alli's career is almost finished at this point after that Everton spell. But Marcus Rashford, I don't think will ever get to the heights that he was at for Man United, scoring, like I said, 20 goals a season. And
I want to talk
injuries as well, man.
I'd love to, but if we have 5 minutes.
I don't. We might need to just make that a whole nother stream at one day.
Because I don't. Yeah, okay. Sure, we're running way over.
Bruno,
I want to know what you guys. I know you guys hate Dele, and I wasn't witnessing the demise in the same way, and so I'm like, I honestly want to know what the fuck happened, because I think
3 years happened, Jimmy. That's what you missed. You missed 3 years of absolute nothingness from Dele.
You know what? He built his legacy and his reputation off those two. Well, that one incredible season he had, and then the second season that was just as good. He had two good seasons. He had two incredible seasons.
Before he got signed by Spurs.
And I'll be honest with you, when somebody has 2 incredible seasons and they're that young, you will give them like a year or two to like maybe just get out of a little bit of a mental rut or whatever. 2 years is
It wasn't
long
even
enough.
3 years; it was 4 years when you actually
Yeah,
count
2 years is
correctly.
long enough. 3 years is when you're thinking, okay, maybe he isn't going to get any better. 4 years, people are still giving him a chance after 4 years.
Would you
no.
say that like his technical, his mental game let down his technical ability?
Mentality.
I think his
100%.
technical ability is also gone because he hasn't played any football at a
Yeah.
consistent or at a high level for 4 years.
Technically, he was so excellent for a while. Like,
yeah, but when you haven't been playing at a good level for 4 years, like I know you could say it's all
crazy.
mental, but that means you're losing technical ability as well. Like you are.
It's
he's been training. He's paid to train though. Like,
but
he
know
doesn't
what?
give a shit when he's training. So
He
that's
does.
like,
That's exactly what I was going to say,
I guess
Jimmy. He
doesn't give
does
a
not
fuck,
train
yeah.
properly. He doesn't train properly. I mean,
he's one
I
of the
don't know if
worst
you watched
trainers
the
Spurs have ever had.
Mourinho literally said, yeah, in the Amazon documentary, he is one of literally the worst trainers ever. And my dad always told me when he was coaching me, like, you perform how you train. If you train 100%, you'll play 100%. If you train 50%, you'll play 50%. And I think Ali just has made it. He's basically made it. He was earning 150K a week at 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's made it in his eyes. So I don't think he really cares about trophies in that because he's got the big house.
He just doesn't. I guess he just doesn't care about his football in the way that
I don't think he likes football.
It might have just been a means to make a living. And
he was all up on Instagram and changing his hair every fucking day, and it was like
I can't hate him for that. It might have just been a means to make a living, but I don't want to hear a player then start talking about I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do this and that. It's over. It's well and truly over.
Hot take.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, you guys, because
honestly, that's fine. Pleasure.
Hot take, maybe overrated.
This season he has been, but then again, a lot of my Man United friends have really kind of enjoyed Bruno this season. So I don't know if it's because I've not watched him, but I would say
Bruno
card challenges that he got away with.
Player, honestly, Bruno,
the red card challenges they like.
He's so raw, like just like Kane. He's just like he looks like he's just. They just pulled him out of the Sunday League, and he's just excellent. Like, I love watching him play. As much as
I think Bruno is exceptional. I just wanted somebody to bite on that. I actually don't believe that he's overrated at all. I don't think he's world class, though. No,
not even this season. Not even this season, though. Like, do you think this season?
Because
I don't think he takes his football seriously enough. If he was as committed, like he needs to get fitter and stronger. Like if he was as fit and strong as Ronaldo, he would be world class.
I don't think he's that sort of player. But I'll be honest. To answer your question, Darius.
I don't know.
Like he's still at one stage, like had the most shot creating actions in the league.
Has he?
Yeah, like or not now, but at one stage, he did. Like the guy, I still think is unbelievable.
If he was more athletic, he would be like one of the best players in the world. Like he just is savage.
I think he was probably world class
in his decision making
last season. I think he probably was world class last season.
I love.
Easily last season. That's what I'm saying. This season is
above.
Yeah,
I think it's just none of.
He reminds me of Suarez in his decision making, but didn't have the athletic ability of Suarez. Like where he's just like, I'm gonna fucking shoot from here, and then he hits the post, and then somehow they goal. It's like
that just reminds me of Bruno.
It is. He just gets. It's almost like he creates luck at all times. I love it. It's a very South American trait about him. I love it.
Declan Rice, last one of the evening, world class. Or overrated. I think it's one or the two. World class or overrated.
I don't want to call him world class. I really don't want to call him world class. But I was just about to say he's 22 years old, captain in West Ham.
He's like Trentonville.
Captain in West Ham to a European semi-final.
We'll see.
I don't world class numbers. He does have world class numbers for his position, like underlying numbers.
Yeah. My friend's a West Ham fan, and he put it very. This is why I'm struggling to like, because he's been calling Declan Rice, like he says Declan Rice is the best English talent, like way more than Foden, way more than Sancho, all of these players. He says he basically is of the talent of Foden, but he's in a West Ham team that is significantly worse, playing game in, game out, captaining that side, being probably the most important person to that side, literally defending and attacking, like the definition of box to box, like you said, Jimmy. And he said, how can you not call him world class? Like any club in the world would take Declan Rice and he would improve their team. And I then thought about it. And then I went on Twitter and I was looking at like, this is before.
I probably don't watch him enough.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well.
Yeah.
But Tchouaméni went to Real Madrid. Tchouaméni went to Real Madrid. I think it's confirmed now that he's gone to Real Madrid, Tchouaméni. And before that happened, I saw a very popular Real Madrid page sort of put up like, who would be your ideal centre defensive midfielder to sign after Casemiro if you're a Real Madrid? Or half those Real Madrid fans said Declan Rice, and I thought that was quite eye opening for me because I didn't really think that he had that sort of pull on the worldwide, on the the European scale as well. So I think he's
Yeah.
he's
don't
not
know
obviously
shit. Send him.
underrated,
Send
but I
him.
think he might be world class.
Send him. I agree. You've convinced me. I haven't seen him play enough to make that objective like view, but if what you said is true, then send him.
And
I
that's
think he's in
genuine.
there.
Like, yeah, that is a genuine truth. Like, and I was so shocked by that because I was thinking Real Madrid fans asking about Declan Rice. It's like, doesn't really make sense, does it? It's like they don't. Wouldn't even expect them to know who he is. So yeah, no, I think definitely he could be argued as world class.
Sounds
All
like
right,
I have
then.
some studying to do.
Yeah, maybe so, and maybe for the part 2, perhaps you might have some.
I'm so
well,
excited
everybody,
for part 2.
we went through all the Premier League players. These, by the way, are just some duplicates of Sonny and Joao that just didn't really, crop well. But we went through all the Premier League players. If I'm going to probably summarize maybe the hot takes, I think Rashford and overrated is just a beautiful sight. I think that just shows that, we were not holding back. Trent, none of the above, also a hot take, you could say. I think that is also nice to see. Most of those Man City players down there, nowhere near the world class. Only 2 Man City players in world class.
Yeah, more Liverpool than City. Wow.
More Liverpool than City. There's a hot take right there. Underrated, seeing maybe Kyle Walker. I think that was beautiful to see. Bernardo Silva, love. That was probably one of my favorite spots, was just seeing a bit of love for that guy.
Judge the City players.
Chelsea, weird kind of this one. It feels like some of these could be in world class in the future. Just maybe we're not really so sure yet.
I think if they won a trophy, we'd probably be calling them a lot more of the world class if they won a few.
They won the Champions League 2 seasons ago,
and they won the Club World Cup this year and the Community Shield. So they did win the same amount of trophies as you guys. To be fair, Jimmy.
Yeah. Well, if they maybe had done something better this season, we probably would have been a bit nicer to them. But nothing you can do.
We did beat them in 2 finals, though.
That's the point to make. Yeah.
Jimmy, a fantastic debut. Put your Twitter in the chat there. I'm not sure really what you have to plug there, but really appreciate you coming on. My man,
don't go to my Twitter's anonymous. Don't go there.
Don't go there. Don't even. I didn't know what to plug at all, my man. So hopefully you give me something to plug next time.
It's all me shitting on idiotic football fans on Twitter who just start talking out their ass.
I think that's all of us, Jimmy, to be fair. I think that's pretty much all of us.
I'll have a YouTube coming up. I'm actually building my own club for next season, so we're going to do a whole YouTube coming up with that. We got some signings to make, player profile videos. It's a lot to come, so shit's coming on the way. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can plug that maybe a bit better next time then. Darius's Twitter here, as we all know. And then Paxton Road on top of that, at probably my favorite channel, at least to watch in my spare time for Spurs. Really do appreciate you both coming on for this one. Not really too sure.
Thanks for having me. I'm talking too much.
No, I mean, I think we finished right at the perfect amount of time. Honestly, I didn't want to go over 2 hours, and I think we succeeded in that. And Catman Jess even saying, great show, guys. Great debut, Jimmy. Welcome to the Flat Cap Army. Officially welcome by the Catman Jess.
Appreciate you.
See that. Appreciate that, Catman. Good role model of the Harris Army and the Flat Cap Army. Everybody, we do have a transfer stream tomorrow on the Irish Hotspur. Plenty more coming out on this channel. We're posting lots lately. I think Paxton Road is coming up with a new transfer sort of kind of.
I'm trying to potentially be like a host on that show. So if you get a few messages, Jack, asking to be a co-host, then don't feel afraid to come on and join me, because I think I'm going to try and sort that out. So yeah, hopefully if I can get you on and get a few other guys on, hopefully make it a show of my own almost. So yeah, stay tuned for that one.
Paxton Road, everybody. Just an endorsement for myself. Please hit that sub. If you like me, hit that sub on Paxton Road, because I can not only, I have to give them biggest endorsement because it's what I watch in my spare time.
I think I need to sub. Hold up.
Oh, mate, we're accepting
you want to drown yourself in the Spurs content, you might as well, my man.
That's the problem. I'm just like, I already have to listen to this guy in my ear every day.
Not sure if you're ready for it, but everybody, like I said, Irish Hotspur on tomorrow, transfer stream, really big one. Going to be talking about Bastoni, Torres, all that sort of good stuff. More keep, loan, and sells coming out. Scout report's going to be coming out on this channel, of course. Just stay tuned on both. Keep the notification bell on so that you know that any sort of video that is coming out, you won't miss it. But unless anybody else has anything else to say, I think we're going to sign off. Everybody, I guess Jimmy, Darius, and I, we will be seeing you. Hit that like button on your way out. We'll be catching you.
Appreciate y'all.